Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 9 Part 9 based on novel. So let's start. A human figure miserably shot out from the burning sky cauldron. Wild joy immediately surfaced on the bald man's face after he discovered that he had been freed from the confines of the burning sky cauldron. However, this wild joy had yet to fully spread when he saw the smiling Lindong a short distance away. The three-headed demon snake immediately felt uneasy after seeing Lindong's smile. He quickly shifted his gaze, as that familiar lava rock pool appeared in his sights. Immediately, his pupils contracted, as rich shock and horror rose on his face. "You bastard!" An extremely furious curse was directly emitted from the mouth of the three-headed demon snake. Subsequently, majestic energy suddenly swept out from within his body, as his body moved to flee. Clearly, this three-headed demon snake was not unfamiliar with this place. Moreover, he also seemed to be clearly aware of just how powerful this lava rock pool was. It was even possible that he had suffered somewhat because of it. Lindong watched the three-headed demon snake, who had reacted extremely quickly, and faintly smiled. He had seen the red light line surrounding of the lava rock pool flicker once again, and the enormous formation swiftly appeared. Rays of light gathered together, without skipping a beat, a red light line once again quietly shot out. Lindong was unable to sense even the tiniest energy fluctuations from the light ray. However, he knew that this thing truly possessed destructive properties. The speed of the scarlet red light was extremely quick. That three-headed demon snake's body barely withdrawn when the light ray arrived. Soon after, it violently smashed onto his body in front of his horrified eyes. The light ray seemed extremely tiny, but the three-headed demon snake appeared as though he had suffered a heavy blow. Immediately, a mouthful of fresh blood was spat out while one of his arms trembled wildly. After which, some scarlet-red specks of light quickly spread. The arm of the three-headed demon snake was quickly burnt into ashes wherever the specks of light spread. Crack! The expression of the three-headed demon snake changed drastically as he looked at the scarlet-red light spreading along his arm. He quickly clenched his teeth as his other hand formed the shape of a blade, and directly cut off his arm. Fresh blood splattered as the cut arm fell. Before the arm could land in the lava rock pool, it was completely burnt into ashes by that red light. Lindong's eyes shivered a little as he watched this scene from outside of the lava pool. The destructive power of this formation seemed to be a little too terrifying. The formation had once again brightened while this thought was swiftly flashing within Lindong's mind. Yet another scarlet red light line shot directly towards the three-headed demon snake. "Lindong, you bastard! I will definitely tear you into 1,000 pieces." Upon seeing the scarlet red light line attack once again, the three-headed demon snake was shocked to the extent that his soul almost left his body. Meanwhile, resentful roars were continuously emitted from his mouth. He did not expect that Lindong would actually be this cunning. Not only did the latter not fall for his scheme, but his methods were even more ruthless. He was actually directly thrown by Lindong into the formation as a test subject. A mouthful of essence blood was spat out from the mouth of the three-headed demon snake. After which, wild and violent energy gushed out from within his body, and merged with the essence blood. A bloody light surged immediately, and transformed into a 10 feet large scarlet scale. An extremely solid glitter flickered on the scale. Clearly, this three-headed demon snake had used all of his techniques in order to preserve his life. The scarlet scale had just formed when the scarlet red light shot over. After which, the latter ruthlessly struck the scale. Soon after, the defense which the three-headed demon snake had used all his power to create began to crack. Finally, it blasted apart amidst a cracking sound. The three-headed demon snake's body pulled back in a miserable fashion. However, he had barely managed to block that right red light ray by relying on his all-out defense. Although he had managed to block the attack this time around, there was no joy at all on the three-headed demon snake's face, but instead an even greater fear. The reason for his fear was quickly understood by Lindong. This was because Lindong saw that the formation, which covered the lava pool, had suddenly unleashed an even denser light. Soon after, 3 rays of scarlet red light lines shot out at the same time. This formation's attack would actually become stronger if it was blocked. Putting it this way, entering it would lead to one suffering an endless stream of attacks until one was completely. Another 3 mouthful of essence blood was spat out from the 3-headed demon snake's mouth as the scarlet red light arrived, and transformed into 3 scarlet scale shields. The scale shields were blasted apart. However, soon after, 5 scarlet red light lines once again rose before the 3-headed demon snake's hopeless eyes. These attacks seemed to be endless. Lin Dong's expression was grave and indifferent as he watched the increasingly miserable and weary 3-headed demon snake within the formation. Yuan power had also begun to quickly surge within his body. While the 3-headed demon snake was being attacked, he had noticed some loopholes in the formation after some careful observation. Although this formation had a strong offensive strength, it seemed to require a period of time to gather its power. Although this period of time was extremely short, there was no doubt that it existed. This was perhaps the only opportunity that he could use to break through. Lin Dong's eyes were tightly locked onto the formation. His body leaned slightly forward, as he waited for the best opportunity to act. This opportunity did not take long to appear. A glint suddenly flashed across Lin Dong's eyes after the scarlet red light lines shot out again. Green dragon wings flashed and appeared on Lin Dong's back. His body immediately turned into a ray of light that directly charged into the lava formation with lightning speed. Quickly after, he made a grasping motion with his hand, a suction force erupted, and directly pulled at that core spiritual birth serum. The jade-green core spiritual birth serum rose into the air, and quickly landed in Lin Dong's hand. Lin Dong did not pause even for a moment after obtaining this item. He flapped his wings, turned around and fled. However, the formation had once again brightened the moment Lin Dong turned around. 2 scarlet red light lines stealthily tore through the air and rushed towards him. Lin Dong's expression was grave as he watched the light lines rushing over. With a thought, the burning sky cauldron came rushing over, and directly collided with the 2 light lines. Boom boom. A clear sound echoed in the square, and the glow of the burning sky cauldron dimmed in an instant. Fortunately, it still managed to receive the 2 light lines. Lin Dong's body did not stop. His toes pushed off the burning sky cauldron, as his body emitted a swoosh sound and rushed out of the lava pool. However, a sinister laughter suddenly sounded just as he was about to charge out from the offensive range of the formation. Planning to leave, little fellow? Do you think that it will be so easy? Since you are so vicious, just die here. The bloody 3-headed demon snake, a missing arm, appeared in front of Lin Dong, as a bitter and resentful smile formed on his face. Quickly after, the former's body swiftly began to swell. Self-destruct? Lin Dong's pupils contracted upon seeing this. Bang! The 3-headed demon snake's body suddenly exploded as this cry of alarm sounded within Lin Dong's heart. Blood splattered in all directions. An extremely violent energy wave forced Lin Dong to spit out blood and fall backwards while pushing him towards the middle of the lava pool. Lin Dong wiped off the trace of blood from the corner of his mouth as his expression sunk. He lifted his gaze and saw light surging around the lava. Suddenly, a dozen scarlet red light lines erupted and shot towards Lin Dong from all directions. Shit! Even with Lin Dong's calmness, his complexion turned somewhat pale upon seeing this number of scarlet red light lines. His eyes flickered crazily. Suddenly, his eyes focused as he looked at the lava pool below. I'll stake everything. Lin Dong stared at the lava pool. He fiercely clenched his teeth and ceased fleeing. His body moved and directly leaped into the lava pool before the scarlet red light lines shot over, emitting a splash in the process. Those scarlet red light lines that were shooting over suddenly froze in a strange fashion after Lin Dong fled into the lava pool. Subsequently, they disappeared into nothingness. However, Lin Dong did not see this scene. This was because he suddenly felt his body sink the moment he leaped into the lava pool. The heat that he had expected did not come. Soon after, he opened his eyes in a puzzled manner, only to see that the world under the lava pool was isolated from the outside. This is... Lin Dong watched this scene that had appeared in front of him, as disbelief and shock slowly surged onto his face. A vast and endless dark domain appeared in Lin Dong's sight. This domain was as deep as the night sky, and a single glance made it feel as if the darkness was encroaching into one's bones, a rather daunting sight. Of course, what had made Lin Dong so shocked was naturally not the pure darkness, but in the 10,000 feet wide rivers of magma within the darkness. The magma rivers slowly flowing in this dark domain, interweaving and connecting to each other in the darkness, forming an extremely tremendous and complicated network. When Lin Dong looked down from above, those flowing magma rivers seemed like giant magma dragons crawling in the darkness. A scene that was peaceful and vast. Lin Dong gazed at the intersecting magma rivers in shock. This was by far the most spectacular scene he had ever seen. He was still unable to fully imagine just who in the world would have such earth-shattering capabilities. The shocked expression stayed on Lin Dong's face for a long time, before it finally slowly disappeared. He swallowed his saliva and took a single look behind him, where a scarlet-red circle of light that was about a dozen feet in diameter was. He had jumped down from there earlier. Nobody could have expected that there was no magma under the magma pool, but instead, this mysterious dark domain. Lin Dong's hand slowly clenched due to nervousness. The world here was really hidden too well. He had originally thought that scarlet-red chalk cavern outside was the secret beneath the lake, but now, it seemed that was merely a ploy, and the real secret was mysterious domain under the magma pool. It was likely that even the three-headed demon snake had not discovered this place. Of course, if Lin Dong had not been forced such a situation, he would not have voluntarily jumped into this magma pool. What exactly was this place? Lin Dong frowned a little, as his mind gradually recovered from the shock and regained its calm. This work was obviously extremely massive, and was not something an ordinary practitioner could have done. Given how well this place was hidden by its creator, it was obvious that its creator did not want anyone to find out about the existence of this dark domain. Within this dark domain, no one answered, and the dead silence seemed as if it would last for an eternity. Lin Dong did not dare to rashly leave such an enigmatic place. He understood that based on this level of work, any small mistake by himself would likely be beyond redemption. As such, he could only stand just outside the scarlet-red circle of light that was the magma pool, while his now recovered sharp eyes started to carefully inspect the interweaving magma rivers. The duration of this inspection very quickly reached an hour, and as time passed, horror and amazement gradually surfaced in Lin Dong's eyes, which had turned slightly red due to the glare from the magma rivers. This was because he had realized that these interweaving magma rivers seemed to form an indescribably enormous array. The entirety of this array was perhaps hundreds and thousands of feet wide. Even Lin Dong had been shocked into a daze by an array of such scale. A long time had passed before he finally gradually regained his wits. What terrifying ability, to actually have the capability to deploy such an array. Lin Dong wiped cold sweat on his forehead. He completely believed that this magma array definitely had the power to bring about the apocalypse. Even a profound death stage practitioner would surely die if he falls into this array. In fact, even Ying Xuanzi, Qian Yuanzi, and the other practitioners at the samsara stage would be in an extremely difficult position. What made Lin Dong puzzled was who had created such a huge array here. Moreover, what exactly was his reason for doing so? Lin Dong frowned while this mystery filled his heart. His eyes continued to inspect that indescribably huge magma array. Since it is an array, there must be a central hub. Lin Dong's gaze flickered for a while. Soon after, something suddenly hit him as his eyes started to trace the magma rivers that intersected in a complex manner. After a long time, he finally found that these magma rivers that cut through the darkness ultimately all converged at a single location. The point of convergence was a large magma lake. Bubbles were continuously emitted from the scarlet-red magma. The temperature of the lake was enough to instantly turn a profound life-stage practitioner into ash. Lin Dong stared at this magma lake within the mysterious array. His gaze swept the area, and in the next instant, his pupils tightly contracted. He had seen something at the middle of the magma lake. It was a stone coffin. The stone coffin was entirely scarlet red, and silently floated on the surface of the magma lake. It looked like it was made from a single piece of scarlet red crystal. The stone coffin had no cover, hence, Lin Dong could see that a person seemed to be lying within it. With the light emitted from the magma, Lindong could vaguely see that it seemed to be a man with a slender body. His face was handsome, and even though his eyes are tightly shut, was still a hint of majesty in between his brows, while his long fiery red hair seemed to burn like fire. Lindong stared at the mysterious man who laid in the stone coffin. As he watched in this fashion, he suddenly realized that the blood within his body was starting to boil a little. His heart immediately shivered as he hurriedly shifted his eyes away from the mysterious man. Only then did the boiling in his body gradually start to subside. As he felt the boiling within his body subside, horror rose on Lindong's face. Who exactly was this mysterious man? How terrifying! He had merely observed the man for a while, and signs of self-immolation had already appeared. Moreover, this happened even when it was not even known whether the other party was dead or alive. If he was wide awake, wouldn't Lindong have turned into ash in a single glance? Lindong swallowed his saliva. His palm was covered in cold sweat. Everything in this mysterious domain was too strange and scary. The stone coffin quietly floated atop the magma lake. It was not large, but Lindong could feel extremely faint fluctuations from it, and it was these fluctuations that were supporting the operation of this enormous magma array. Energy shuttled back and forth within the magma river, just like a giant dragon that was spreading out and shrouding this entire domain. That feeling, it felt as if it was suppressing something. Suppressing? It hit Lindong like lightning. He was startled for a moment, but quickly lowered his head only to discover that this huge magma array seemed to have sealed the bottom of this dark domain. It was a place with extreme darkness, the kind of darkness that even the light from the magma would be unable to invade. Who knew what was hidden at the depths of such darkness? The array split the domain into two, one half where Lindong was at, while the other half was the darkness below. Just like the inside and outside of a prison. What is this array sealing? Lindong gazed at the darkness under the great array, and suddenly felt a chill rising from the bottom of his feet to the top of his skull, causing him feel rather uncomfortable. That sensation, it felt as though there was something extremely evil at the bottom of the darkness staring at him. This place was too strange, I should not stay for long. Lindong gazed into the darkness, as his expression became extremely grim. This place was filled with abnormalities, a mysterious domain, a mysterious array, a mysterious stone coffin, and a mysterious man. These things were not what the current him could dabble in. Lindong took a deep breath, forcibly suppressing the curiosity in his heart, before he turned around to head back into the scarlet-red ring of light. Although it was dangerous outside, it was slightly more comfortable than this dreadful darkness. At the very least, even if he died, he would know what he had been killed by. Lindong did tarry nor hesitate once he made this decision. However, the moment he turned around, his expression totally changed. Subsequently, he helplessly watched as a gently white light flew out from within his body. It was the mysterious stone talisman. The stone talisman flew out. Next, Lindong watched in horror as it headed straight for the red-haired man within the stone coffin below. At this moment, Lindong's scalp instantly turned numb. The stone talisman transformed into a warm white light that tore through the darkness. It headed straight for the stone coffin floating on the lava lake. This scene was extremely sudden. Even Lindong did not manage to recover immediately. He had never imagined that the stone talisman, which had been quietly remaining on his body, would suddenly act in such an odd manner. Lindong immediately focused after regaining his wits, in an attempt to pull back the stone talisman that had flown out. However, his control was completely useless at this moment. Hence, he could only watch the stone talisman, which had transformed into a white light with a somewhat pale expression. Finally, it appeared above the stone coffin. Lindong looked at the stone talisman as it hovered above the stone coffin, as a drop of cold sweat rolled down his forehead. However, he did not dare to make even the slightest movement. He was unaware of just who the red-haired person inside the stone coffin was. Moreover, he did not know whether this person was currently dead or alive. There was no guarantee of what would happen if this person was woken. Moreover, if he took a step back to look at the situation, even if he did not wake this person, any unexpected change to this enormous formation because of the stone talisman's actions might cause the thing being suppressed to escape. Such an outcome would perhaps be disastrous. Therefore, regardless of how one put it, this was not considered a good thing for Lin Dong. However, even though some anxiety rose within Lin Dong's heart, he could do nothing about the situation. He was aware of the stone talisman's origins. Hence, it was impossible for him to simply leave it behind and escape by himself. Under Lin Dong's anxious eyes, white light suddenly scattered from the stone talisman. After which, it covered the red-haired man inside the stone coffin. Lin Dong felt his scalp exploded the moment he saw this, as his heart involuntarily wailed. He could not understand just what this stone talisman was doing. Could it really be planning to wake this mysterious red-haired man? Lin Dong stared intently at the red-haired man inside the stone coffin while yuan power quickly circulated within his body. The white light covered the red-haired man. However, he did not wake like Lin Dong had expected. Similarly, nothing out of the ordinary happened to the formation. This caused Lin Dong's tensed heart to relax a little. As he relaxed, Lin Dong suddenly saw a red light rising from within the body of the red-haired man inside the stone coffin. Finally, the red light paused beside the stone talisman. The stone talisman immediately withdrew its light after the red light appeared. Subsequently, it turned around and rushed back, before once again entering Lin Dong's body in a flash. The red light leisurely floated in front of Lin Dong as the stone talisman entered his body. Lin Dong was stunned after seeing this scene. After a brief hesitation, he extended his hand and the red light landed in it. The red light fell as its brilliance scattered, transforming into a fiery red token. This token was around the size of a palm, and it still held some warmth as it entered his hand. The token was extremely simple and did not contain any fanciful patterns. However, this token gave off a grand and ancient aura that was difficult to conceal. Lin Dong flipped the token in his hand as he looked at it. The front of the token had a relatively ancient character on it, the word flame. Red light surged on this character like flowing lava, giving it an extremely mysterious appearance. What is this? Lin Dong felt somewhat lost as he held this scarlet red token in his hand. It was possible for him to vaguely sense a seemingly extremely frightening energy contained within this token. However, he was unable to activate it. All he could do was frown and shake his head, as he carefully kept this scarlet red token. Since this object was summoned by the stone talisman, it should likely be of some use. Lin Dong once again carefully glanced at the red-haired man inside the stone coffin after keeping the scarlet red token. The latter did not show any signs of waking. It seemed that he was unable to detect the stone talisman removal of this mysterious token from his body. Lin Dong was dazed for a long time, before he scratched his head. This stone talisman had ran out in an unfathomable manner, and had brought back a mysterious object. This entire matter was really a little baffling. One was really unable to comprehend these ancient objects. From the looks of the situation, it was possible that this mysterious stone talisman was related to the red-haired man. If this was the case, this red-haired man was perhaps in existence from ancient times. Lin Dong stood there in a dazed manner as he let his thoughts run wild. Finally, he shook his head, and tossed these thoughts out of his mind. It was not the time to think about such things now. It is best to leave first. Although the worst situation had not occurred, Lin Dong had become a little terrified by this mysterious domain. He no longer had the courage to remain here. His body turned, and he directly fled towards the scarlet red light circle behind him. No accident occurred this time around, as he successfully entered the light circle and quickly disappeared. This mysterious black domain once again descended into an ancient-like silence after Lin Dong left. The red-haired man in the stone coffin lay in a peacefully manner above the lava lake. His 10 fingers were crossed in front of him while a faint pressure was emitted. The endless darkness suddenly shook, as the low and deep sounds of metal chains appeared. Soon after, the entire space seemed to tremble intensely. Roar! A piercing soul-tearing screech suddenly sounded from deep within the darkness. After which, the sound of metal chains appeared. One could see the black darkness quivering wildly. Soon after, a 10,000 feet large giant black hand suddenly tore through the darkness and grabbed at the stone coffin located at the middle of the lava formation. Bang! The enormous lava formation suddenly rebelled with a loud bang the moment the giant black palm touched the lava lake. The lava rivers surged as a 1,000 feet large lava wave churned. The noise was just like that of a giant lava dragon, and it shook the entire domain until it quivered continuously. Monstrous scarlet red light surged, as the lava rapidly flowed downwards. Only then was it possible to see that the lava formation was actually connected to countless 1,000 feet large black chains. These chains were covered with obscure and complicated symbols. Lava quickly followed these chains and flowed downwards. In the blink of an eye, it dyed those chains red. As the lava flowed, one was finally able to see that those enormous chains were actually binding that 10,000 feet large giant black hand. The chains turned scarlet red, and a monstrous white fog immediately erupted from the giant black hand. Immediately, a mournful screech once again sounded from deep within the endless darkness. The enormous black hand struggled, but it was still unable to escape. Finally, the enormous black hand could only shrink back again, and withdraw into the frightening darkness, while an extremely unresigned roar resounded across the entire domain. The enormous lava formation finally calmed down after forcing the giant darkness hand back. It was as though that world-shaking scene from earlier had not occurred. The stone coffin continued to quietly float above the lava lake. It was as though nothing had changed because of the unusual occurrence earlier. The eyes of the red-haired man inside it were tightly shut. However, a red glow suddenly flashed across his handsome face at this moment, while the 10 fingers that were placed in front of him seemed to tremble gently. Even though this was the case, he still did not wake. However, a will seemed to have floated out. Within this will was a low and raspy voice. The ancient divine flame tablet had been taken. The ancestral stone's aura, has it also been heavily injured? That person also have the scent of the ice master on him, has she crossed over reincarnation? The low voice slowly resounded across this dark domain. It was a long while later before it disappeared completely, as the ancient silence returned. The lava stone pool on the scarlet red square suddenly rippled, and a human figure swiftly jolted out from within. The scarlet red formation around the lava stone pool was once again activated the moment the figure appeared. Dozens of scarlet red light lines with extremely lethal force once again shot out in an explosive fashion. Lin Dong's expression changed drastically upon seeing this. His mouth was full of bitterness. Why was he so unlucky wherever he went? This formation was really a headache. A red light suddenly flew out from his Qiankun bag while bitterness filled his mouth. A circular ripple was emitted, and the scarlet red light lines that were about to strike Lin Dong immediately disappeared into nothingness, as the flickering formation also gradually calmed down. The originally tensed-up Lin Dong was immediately stunned as he watched this scene. After which, he turned his head to look at the red light in front of him. It was the scarlet red token that the stone talisman had brought back earlier. Clearly, this object seemed to be able to stop the formation from attacking its owner. Lin Dong quietly sighed in relief upon seeing this. He extended his hand and retrieved the scarlet red token. After which, he exited and entered the formation a couple more times. The formation had ceased launching any attacks at him. Lin Dong finally completely relaxed after a couple of tries. He subsequently sat beside the lava stone lake and clenched his hand, as a life mysterious spirit fruit appeared in it. Since the formation was useless against him, he could use it as a cultivation area. With the protection of this formation, it was likely that he would not be disturbed. I shall break through to the profound life stage here. Lin Dong held the life mysterious spirit fruit, as excitement flashed in his eyes. He had been yearning for this stage for a long time. This video will end here.